What's up, my inquisitive little imbe? This is a burrito-fueled Rob from a Gay Guy Plays, and today on The Daily Grind, we're back with another installment of a Rob reads you shit that you don't want to read yourself. And I highly suggest that you strap in for this one. Go grab yourself a drink, maybe fold some laundry, do some dishes, because we're going to be here for a while. This dev workshop is quite a honker. As you can see, we are going over Melee Rework Phase 2 technique, and I did decide, if you watched my previous video, I'll go ahead and leave it linked up there. It's actually on a preview of Update 26, The Old Blood, so check that out if you haven't already. But I said that I might break it up into a couple different videos. I think we're just gonna go in deep on this one. So, as presented by D.E. Bear himself, the Jugger Daddy. Greetings, Close Combat Tenno. This rather lengthy dev workshop will cover the overall progression with our Melee rework and some of the changes that you can expect to see when Phase 2 is released in Update 26, which will be coming as early as next week, but if not next week, then definitely before the end of the month. Update 26 brings change to Warframe. It iterates on the game, and Melee is no exception. For months, Phase 1 has been in your hands, and it's time for Phase 2. What follows is a detailed overview of our design direction and intentions with this new phase. We want you to know how to use your Melee, and feedback on the systems have helped from Phase 2, and how some changes are included to allow for a more cohesive Melee experience. Our tools made spin attacks optimal at the cost of the more interesting Melee system, and we're trying to rectify that overall. Previously, we made several changes to the Melee system as detailed in the Melee Rework Phase 1 Dev Workshop thread, including introducing a new quick melee attack, full VFX overhaul on elemental damage types, aimed slam attacks instead of impacting directly below an airborne player. While select changes are to be rolled back, yes, see below before you react, the rest of the system served as a good foundation for this much more expansive Phase 2. Please bear in mind that these changes are not set in stone, and some aspects of the new Melee system will be tweaked during the usual QA process. There are some more features being added later on, introduced in Melee Rework Phase 3 at a later date. If you're wondering why I'm looking away, it's because I want to cover myself in a little bit of a snuggie action. So, what is covered in Melee Update Phase 2? I don't want to go through all of this, it's basically like a table of contents as to what's happening. So we'll go ahead and just go bullet point by bullet point as we go down. As you can probably tell, this dev workshop is going to be a bit of a lengthy one, so make sure you sit comfortably, drink a nice cup of greedy milk or Coke Zero, and get ready to read all about how you can better turn your enemies into salsa with your favorite melee weapon. I like that. I like you, Bear. It's been a while. So the gameplay. Equipping melee and manual blocking. This is going to be a good one. One of the bigger changes added to the Melee Rework Phase 1 was the addition of fluid swapping between melee and primary/secondary weapons. However, some players preferred the ability to manually block, making some of their builds less easy to manage. While we restored manual blocking for players playing Sword alone, it wasn't quite the same. The good news is that both functions are back. Holding the weapon swap button will equip the melee fully again, and the aim button will manually block in this mode, so basically kind of like how it used to be. Holding the weapon swap button while Exalted Melee is in play will also lock you into Exalted Melee mode. So I kind of don't want to have the sound up for this, but let's see if we can get a decent visual for that for you guys. So you'll actually be able to see an interesting little swirl that shows up when you actually physically swap. So that's just the normal quick swap. When you're shooting, right? And so that's the quick melee. But there is one where you hold down the button and you see that little gleam? That's the little gleam that's saying that you are in full-on melee mode. So when you get that little gleam on, you might want to check your keybinds to make sure that it works appropriately, but that is where you're going to get your blocking. We have also redesigned the utility of blocking. Blocking will now prevent 100% of damage. Let's have a quick cheers to that. With a blocking angle that is dependent on the melee weapon equipped. All successful blocks will also add to the new combo counter. So, blocking adds to the combo counter, and we've got a nice little image here of what they mean by the blocking angle. So as you can see, here's a Silva and Aegis. It's got a 70-degree angle, so it's going to be a wider range to block enemy attacks, while we have the Dark Dagger at only a 45-degree angle. Now, they did say that larger weapons clearly were going to be able to block more, and smaller weapons would not be able to block as well. So I'm kind of crossing my fingers that they haven't absolutely shat on daggers and dual daggers yet again, because they are some of the smallest weapons, and hopefully the melee balance pass has given them better stats to kind of be equipped with it. In the above example, the sword and shield weapons, such as the Silva and Aegis, have a blocking angle of 70 degrees centered on the front of the player, whereas a dagger weapon, such as the Dark Dagger, will only have a blocking angle of 45 degrees. Previously, all weapons had a locked blocking angle of 45 degrees upon the introduction of auto blocking. So basically, this is going to be a buff to some of the bigger weapons out there with your blocking angle. Actually, it's pretty much a buff everywhere, because legitimately you get the 45-degree angle no matter what, at least at its base, and then you get 100% damage reduction, which is quite nice. Moving on, we have 2, dodge, cancel, and tactical dodging. One of the older and larger complaints of the melee combo system has been that the animation will lock. Completing 7-step combos feels great, but the animations completely lock you into the movements. We are introducing 2 new ways to put more control in your hands. There is dodge cancel, which allows a player to activate dodge anytime during a melee attack to end the combo immediately and dodge out of the way. I'm pretty sure that is actually pictured somewhere here. As you can see, she's kind of just slashing around. Then she does a roll, which basically breaks the animation. Wow, why can't I talk? There is also an interesting thing that I don't think is really, how do I put this? I don't think it's well shown visually in the footage, is something called tactical dodging. Dodging while blocking now performs as tactical dodge, keeping the distance short and allowing you to remain within melee range. This is an effort to not break the flow of combat after canceling out of an attack, but also if you need to make a quick escape. So basically, if you want a bigger dodge, don't be blocking. If you want a shorter dodge, go ahead and block so that you can kind of stay within the melee range. When they were showing it off on the dev stream, it didn't look very visually like you couldn't really see it that well, and I think that it's going to be more of those things where you see it in gameplay and you kind of like play around in gameplay that you'll notice that the dodge is going to be shorter. But they did show it off, so I wanted to give you guys that little clip there. And also, I'll link this article down in the description box below just in case you guys need it, as always. The combos. 3, stance changes, combos, and you. By far, the biggest change you will see in the new melee system is the alterations made to stances, as well as how combos interact with one another. In the old current system, combos are an effect of button presses, all leading into a chain of animations. In Melee Rework Phase 2, attacks are buttery, smooth, and adaptable. Ooh, who doesn't like a little bit of butter? Okay. This rework of combos applies to every stance, not just the weapon types. For example, Tempo Royale, a heavy weapon stance mod, will have different combos than the Cleaving Whirlwind stance, even though both stances fit the heavy weapon melee type. The difference now is that both share a design that uses common movements and attack types. Okay, so each of the different stances are still going to have their own flavor, but they're all kind of like telling the same story. We also wanted melee attacks to feel more intuitive. For example, if you're aiming down the sights of a primary weapon or blocking incoming fire, then hit the melee button, you most likely want to get in close. If you are not inputting a movement key while meleeing, it's usually a sign you want to finish off your target. We wanted the new combos to reflect that existing movement so that the new inputs reflect situational awareness. I like this because as many times you guys have seen me test out melee weapons in the simulacrum, I'll be trying to like use a combo, but the combo will be flinging me all over the place. And I'm like, yo, I'm just trying to kill this one dude here. Why do I gotta be backflipping onto a whole nother side of the screen, right? So this I think is really, really nice. The fact that it's gonna be intuitive. In most cases, the following improvements can be applied to any given stance mod equipped to a weapon, not just individual weapon types. So there's a forward combo, forward plus melee. This allows you to attack without initially interrupting movement with the first 1 to 3 swings, depending on weapon stance. The last attack in the sequence will loop seamlessly into the first so that you can keep a level of mobility while attacking. Forward tactical combo, forward plus block/aim and melee. This move, usually a distance closing opener, bringing you closer to the enemy and getting you within range to continue a harder hitting string of attacks. The beginning or end of this combo can have a slam effect, allowing you to control the enemy during the midpoint of the combo. Attacks will be large and sweeping, allowing multiple enemies to be hit. So the forward tactical combo is definitely going to be what you're going to want to be using against groups of enemies, because it's going to have those sweeping attacks. Neutral combo, melee button only. Hard-hitting movement-free attacks to allow a player to destroy their target. The last attack can either have a knockdown effect or throw them into the air and hold them there if one set of strikes does not finish the job. Now, I'm wondering if this is kind of like alluding to the lift mechanic that is being introduced, and I think we're going to see that in a second. But that actually sounds pretty good for me, because I like to be able to just stand in one place and just mash on an enemy if need be. Again, this is not going to throw you around the place, and from what I remember last time, they had mentioned the fact that melee attacks where you're not necessarily moving forward or having a directional movement are usually focused on one target and going to have larger multipliers attached to the melee combo. So that's kind of cool, because it is really going to be intuitive and focused on taking out a single target or taking out a target that you've already engaged. So that's cool. Neutral tactical combo, block, aim, melee. First hit will likely be a longer thrust or throw of a weapon to increase range. Further attacks will be hard hitting and will open up a finish in a ragdoll effect or a lifting attack. Okay, so this is where the lifting attack part comes. Okay, as opposed to a knockdown or stagger. Lifting attacks are detailed in section 7 of this workshop. Ooh, we're only in section 3. Jesus. Air combo, melee while jumping. Perform a combo in air without sacrificing movement. Always good to hear. Hover air combo, back plus melee while jumping. Ooh, I mean, could we have this as block while melee while jumping instead of back plus melee while jumping? Because that feels a little not necessary. Back has always not been an intuitive part of any melee combo. So if we could have that as block plus melee while jumping, I'm right there with you. Holds the player in place while the combo completes and overrides a slam attack AM goal to keep your action going. But then again, I don't know if that interferes with anything else, the block part, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to have to play around with the hover air combo. But as you can see, this, at the very, very end of this, is the lifting mechanic, which is the new one, which allows you to juggle. So as you can see, you're actually keeping that enemy off the ground where they're almost helpless in the air. Very similar to... I don't know. Baruch's ultimate, where he can kind of like lift enemies up and they kind of like dangle there for a while. Programmer move example. Wow, Rob can't read. Use the first opening attack in the forward tactical combo, forward plus block aim melee, to close the distance on the target, then transition into either a neutral combo or a neutral tactical combo to finish off the target. Because, of course, you get the movement from the first set, and then all of a sudden the second set has the higher multipliers and some CC or something that opens up a finisher attack. So that's going to be kind of cool. I can't wait to see how it actually plays out in game. 4. Smoother combo transitions. In the old system, only the first follow attack inputted would remain in memory and would execute at the end of the initial attack animation. Any kind of input entered after the initial follow-up was ignored until the next attack had started. In the new system, the next attack is constantly being updated depending on the last input received. This allows for last-second decisions on combo changes to occur immediately after the first attack is finished. No more waiting for a combo attack animation to end before you can start spamming the attack button again. Embrace the fluidity. I'm excited to see how that works. Ooh, this part is the juicy bit. The combo counter rework. So the combo counter will be getting a new functionality pass. Rather than just providing flat bonuses to damage, the combo counter will now also act as an expendable resource for new heavy hitting combat. Heavy attacks. This will replace Channeling's key binding, and section 7 below covers those changes. This counter will be increased in a more granular and rapid way and can be built by using melee attacks, blocking damage, radial damage from slam hits, and thrown weapons such as the glaive. As an expendable resource, the combo counter should be easy to replenish, and the changes made should reflect how easy you can acquire and spend the combo counter resource. In addition, the quote-unquote heaviness of an attack will have a measured difference on the amount of combo counter it increases. As a general rule, lighter swift attacks will give lower additions to the combo counter than slower, heavier attacks will. Swing for the fences, Tenno. That's actually a really thoughtful, part, is because there are some attacks that are just generally slower when you go ahead and execute them into specific combos. So giving them a little bit more weight with the combo counter, aka giving them more points towards your combo counter, is actually a great idea. A side note, as a result of the new combo counter system, certain mods are changing. That's what we were all waiting for. But there are also some mods whose stats will remain untouched, such as body count, as it retains the same functionality. The mods that will see some changes are listed below in section 9. Yo. We haven't even gotten to section 7 yet. Alright. The tools. Changes to slam attacks. The ragdoll effect of slam attack is being removed, with some weapon-specific exceptions, cough cough, jack katag. However, it's being replaced with an effect that will push enemies back or knock them down, giving the player some breathing room and setting the enemy units up for following attacks. And I'm going to be honest with you, I actually think that's a pretty good addition. Ragdoll is kind of a great CC, but it does get quite messy. So just knocking them down or knocking them back is a little bit cleaner, and you can kind of keep better track of them when you're playing. So I do quite agree with that. Melee Rework Phase 1 introduced the global use of ragdoll effects on slam attacks. So this is the second item to be rolled back and replaced with a better way to rain down death from above. A GIF shows this off better than words alone, so enjoy a visual of what to expect. I really love all of the little particle bits that are raised in the air when you slam down on an enemy. That's a really, really cool look. Replacing channeling with heavy attacks and the lifted status, which I'm gonna be honest with you means something totally different here in Northern California. Y'all trying to get lifted, huh? Anyway, channeling will be saying its final farewells in the Melee Rework Phase 2 update, and instead it's being replaced with a new form of heavy attack as well as a new lifted status effect. As we said before, channeling mods will also be changed to support this new system, as well as providing a larger proof of utility to choose from in your builds. These changes are the changes planned. I read that completely wrong, but I got across what we were saying. Heavy attacks, alt fire for melee. Heavy attacks can now occur at any time, simply by pressing the alt fire button while you have melee equipped in your hand. This costs all of your combo counter affected by mods, so make sure you lay down the hurt. If you don't have any combo counter active, you will use a heavy attack, but it will not benefit from any of the damage bonus of the combo counter. Heavy slam attacks, jump plus alt fire for melee. This new slam attack will create a new effect on targets known as the lifted status. When a target is lifted, it is held suspended in the air, allowing a player to follow up on attacks while the target is held helplessly aloft. Again, if you do not have any combo counter active, this will act as a heavy slam attack without a damage bonus and minimal lifting status. So basically, you got to build up your combo status to get lifted. So let's see how this all plays out. But as you can see right here, I don't think that this showed it greatly, but she's building up her combo counter by blocking, actually. And then you'll be able to see her smash the ground right there. And now that enemy is kind of lifted a little bit, but only for a little bit. Oh, there you go. There you go. She got it. Or is he dead? He's probably dead. But you see that cool effect on the ground. That's the whole lifting status effect that they were attempting to show off. All right. Let's go ahead and move a little bit lower and go weapon stats and mastery limits. With this new change, there is a broad sweeping review of melee weapons and how they function with the new system. Expect the following changes to all melee weapons across the board. Mastery rank. Weapons will be reviewed to make sure their function and power are aligned with the appropriate mastery rank, similar to passes made on primary and secondary weapons. Full details will be in the update notes. That's gonna be such a bitch to fucking read. Oh, base damage. Since combo multiplier will apply to heavy attacks only, the base damage of all melee weapons is going to significantly increase. Expect to see some big numbers. Full details will be in the update notes, but every weapon is going up. Base range. Along with damage, range is also being increased to make sure you get the most chop for your buck. While base range is being increased, range mods are going to have a different calculation applied to them. This is detailed in section 9. Mod and arcane channeling functionality. As mentioned above, any mods or arcanes with functionality tied to channeling will have their stats altered to increase lifted status, heavy attack damage, and combo counter multipliers. Now, finally we make it to section 9. Since the base damage of melee attacks is being buffed, some notable mods are getting a balance and or functionality pass. With the wide amount of changes happening to channeling and heavy attacks, some mods have to be reworked into other systems or have had changes to the way their damage scales. For full transparency, some of these are nerfs to specific mods. I'm glad you just said it. Just come out and say, yeah, these are nerfs. But we felt that these were necessary to truly allow Phase 2 to be treated as a new beginning for Melee. Our intention is to create engaging melee and modding variety, which is not possible when there is one best loadout or single mod that can kill almost anything in game, aka covert lethality. I'm just saying. We love killing things effectively, but we also want the combat to be engaging and feel powerful. Spin attacks still exist, but the reputation of them is something we're trying not to force you to use. To reiterate, select tools made spin attacks optimal at the cost of the more interesting melee system, and we're trying to rectify that. At the moment, the current list of mods and their proposed changes are listed below. I like the fact that they said proposed changes, which means that they're not 100% set in stone, so if you do have any issues, make sure to follow the link that I leave down in the description box below, and then you could go ahead and leave your feedback in the forums to tell them, this is good, this is bad, maybe you should keep this in mind. So be sure to chime in because that's the only way that we can make change happen. Amalgam Organ Shatter will be changed from charge attacks to heavy attacks. So basically charge attacks are, I think it was the attack speed, and now it's going to be heavy attack speed instead. Blood Rush, ooh, this is juicy, will now scale differently using a stacking multiplier based on the combo counter, raising X percentage per combo counter tier, something much easier to achieve in Phase 2. We will provide the final percentage pending more testing. Now here's the thing. I'm looking at Blood Rush and I'm saying, okay, so you're going to make Blood Rush a little, I guess we don't really know the percentage, so we can't really gauge it. But since we're going to be able to get the combo counter up much faster, a part of me is like, do I really want to use that heavy attack? I mean, that's a lot of critical damage I'm building up, but we'll see. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Maybe now they're going to go back and they're going to say, we're going to give you a shitty percentage. Shh, strike that from the record. Condition Overload now stacks at a maximum of 3 status effects. However, damage is being increased from 60 to a higher percent to balance the change. Final percentage to come. So 3 status effects, I mean, that's... I don't want to say, I mean, we can really lay into enemies with a lot of statuses. So a maximum of 3 kind of hurts, but depending on the percentage that you give us, I might be okay with it. Give us like maybe a 90%. I'm going to over bargain. Corrupt Charge adds a small amount to the combo counter, but significantly reduces the time it takes for the combo counter to drain. Adds a large amount to the combo counter, but significantly reduces... Oh, so basically your combo counter drains down faster. I don't know. We'll see how that works. Covert Lethality is being removed from dagger weapons and is now being applied to a new system that is shipping alongside Melee Rework Phase 2. Hint, Parazon. Now, if you don't know about the Parazon, you haven't watched my previous video. So make sure. I'll leave the link down in the description box below. Check it out because it's in the Old Blood update. Dispatch Overdrive increases player movement on a heavy attack hit. Don't care. Enduring Affliction increases the status chance on enemies suffering from the lifted status. Interesting. Enduring Strike increases the combo counter when hitting lifted enemies. I mean, doesn't the combo counter already go up when you're hitting enemies? Is this just bonus? We'll see. Focus Energy. Add electrical damage to the attack as well as increasing combo counter generation. I'm really curious to see exactly how well the heavy attacks are going to play into the game. Like, I mean, if I'm slicing through enemies with crazy high critical chances and melting them, like, why would I want to spend all of my combo stacks draining it on like maybe a small group of enemies? I mean, I could just keep that and just run through them with slashes. Guardian Derision will add more to the combo counter for blocking hits. Note the taunt mechanic is still in place. Good. Oh, I skipped one. Gladiator mod set. Oh shit, I skipped two. Gladiator mod set adds a multiplier to the combo counter up to 60% for the whole set. There is Focus Defense. Adds an additional 20 degrees to a weapon's blocking angle. I'm really curious to see how much blocking is going to play a part in a lot of things. I'm curious. Killing Blow. Pure, unadulterated damage buff to heavy attacks. Life Strike. Heavy attacks will now regenerate health. And now the thing is it generate health or regenerate health? Is it going to be health over time or like where are we going with this? Maiming Strike. Changes... This one, a lot of people I don't know how y'all are going to feel about this. Me personally, I don't use Maiming Strike in any of my builds. But if you do, changing from an additive buff to a stacking buff. But base functionality increased to a significant percentage of the old version to balance the change. Final percentage to come soon. Now, I'm wondering if they mean it's an additive stacking buff, as in you don't get the full 90% straight out the gate, but instead you get like a 30%, 30%, 30%, which kind of scales to that. Curious. We'll see how that works. But the final percentage is to come soon. So hold your breath for everybody who has been using Maiming Strike. Quickening increases melee speed, but lowers the chance to generate combo counters on a hit/block. I don't feel anything towards that. Reach/Prime Reach. This one is really interesting, and I want to see how this plays out. Will now increase range in a way that has been normalized. In the previous incarnation, long-range weapons were getting too much of a benefit, while short-range weapons were barely seeing any increase at all. I agree with the short-range weapons, but I kind of liked all that range on the long-range weapons. I'm just saying. Reflex Coil. Increased combo point efficiency when using heavy attacks. Okay, I'm curious how much that's going to leave us with, or is it just going to make it even more powerful for less combo point stat? Spring-loaded Blade will now provide a maximum of 3 additional stacks of melee range. Curious. True Punishment will still increase critical chance, but has a chance to not build combo counter on a hit or block. That might actually be usable, depending on what you're trying to do. Weeping Wounds increases status chance in a stacking multiplier, increased to 60% at maxed level. Really, really cool. At least, I think so. Again, some of these changes are subject to review and are still being finalized. We are sure that as a Melee Rework Phase 2 rolls out, there will be additional balance passes as usability and effectiveness are used or abused. Exalted Weapons. As expected, all melee-based exalted weapons will also receive the Phase 2 functionality treatment, gaining access to the combo changes. For those of you who may have missed it, Wukong's Exalted Iron Staff has already had this functionality implemented, with the exception of the new heavy attacks and changes to slam attacks. So if you want a preview of the combo system, you should check out the Monkey King. 11. New screens and arsenal changes. Part of Update 26 involves a change of the arsenal screen and how information is displayed. The current system, your arsenal screen looks something like this. And as you can tell, one of the cool things about this is you can see the size of the informational text for your melee weapon, right? But look at how much bigger it is on the second one. We like bigger, right? Bigger is kind of nice. There's also some additional changes that are like, oh, you can't see my mouse, so it doesn't really matter. But up at the top, right there, right above the Baruch name, you see a couple interesting changes there as well. As you can see, new stats for heavy attacks and heavy slam have been added with channeling statistics removed. Please note the stats above in the screen may not represent the final numbers as we go through the usual balance passes. There are a couple additional things to note that they didn't actually put there in the text, but you can actually see a range stat just in case you guys were curious, and in addition to that, a follow-through stat, which we have not gotten a clear and concise explanation of yet. They also have the blocking angle there as well as the combo duration, which is very, very nice to have that all in one spot instead of just having it up in your head. They also have heavy attack wind up and heavy slam radius. So it's nice. I like transparency is what we want when it comes to this melee stuff. Wow, we've been going on for a while. As you can see, new stats for heavy attacks and heavy... Okay, I already read that. The technical bits. Selective aim assist. Aim assist can be a help or a hindrance depending on what type of attack you wish to perform. While the current system either applies to all or none, on or off, the new system will have more intelligence on aim assist on a per attack basis. As a general rule under the new system, aim assist will be disabled for almost all attacks in the forward and tactical forward combos and enabled for most of the neutral and tactical neutral attacks. Of course, if you don't wish to use aim assist at all, you can disable it from the settings menu as normal. 13. Sticky fingers when equipping melee. Another common issue in user feedback was the unequipping of gear items like the codex scanner or dropping the football, usually a pickup or mobile defense or sabotage missions, when equipping melee or using a melee attack. This has now been changed so that you will no longer drop items or unequipped gear when either equipping melee or using a melee attack. And last but not least, we have section number 14. Lastly, Channeling 2.0, aka Rage Mode. There's been a lot of discussion around this edition, and while it will not be included in the Phase 2 update, there's a lot of work being put into its application. This system is very special, and we want to make sure that it is not just a cool addition, but that it has roots in Warframe's lore and story behind it. This is something we want to implement with a lot of in-game fanfare, and details will become available as progress is made. For now, that's it. If you have any feedback on these proposed changes, please feel free to respond in this thread. Remember that feedback should be concise, constructive, and civil. I like that, the 3 C's. Like, I think we're pretty good on constructive and civil, but concise? Y'all in your novellas. Keep it concise. I like that. The 3 C's. If there is something you don't like, remember to tell us why and what you would like to see instead. Or if there's something you like the sound of, remember to tell us why you think it will help and how you would like to use it. Thank you for reading this wall of text and expect to see Phase 2 arriving soon. TM. So, all in all, it sounds really good. I want to see, like, okay, let's clarify this because, you know, I need to kind of like put an end cap on this. This is really, really nice to see. We're going to have a refresh of the melee system. I think one of the biggest things that is being pointed out by some people out there is the fact that we are getting a buff to our melee weapons, yet we don't necessarily have strong enemies to use it on. It's kind of like this whole casual player power fantasy that a lot of them like to have. And, you know, it's nice to have a power fantasy every now and then. It's nice to feel good and strong and kind of like blow off some steam, right? When you had a hard day at work. But at the same time, there are players that are looking for more of a challenge. Of course, we do have that Kuvalich system, which is coming up in the Old Blood update that this is actually also coming along with. So I'm curious to see how they play with each other. That sounded bad, but I am curious. But hopefully we do see this kind of going hand in hand with more difficult enemies, you know, kind of like the liches, thralls, and all of that. That might be a little bit of a tougher enemy that will actually be able to use these buffed melee weapons on. I think the only thing that we are waiting in bated breath for are the buffs list, because they did say that they are buffing everything. I'm crossing my fingers. Skana Prime gets the Lado Prime treatment. I'm just, listen, you could call me a greedy founder. You can call me a greedy founder. I'm not expecting it. But if they do, You better believe I'll be happy. I'll be happy. So down in the comments below, let me know what bits you are the most excited about in here. Does this sound good to you? Does it sound bad to you? Also, let me know what weapons you are excited to play around with. Are there some things that you're going to be picking up that you may not have picked up before? Toss all of your feelings down in the comments below. And also, leave me, what do we want today? Leave me a asterisk leave me a double exclamation point. I like a double exclamation point. I'll just put that there. Double exclamation point down in the comments below with your comment if you made it all the way to the end. Regardless, that's going to be it for me for now. Thank you guys so much for tuning on into this very, very long episode. So I'm going to cut it off here. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your cup of Coke Zero, because we made it through. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.